Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Jackson from XL, Radio 1140 here in Calgary, and we would like to welcome you to the CFL All-Time All-Star Awards Dinner. We're here tonight, of course, to recognize the very best of the CFL. And to introduce tonight's honored guests, we would like to bring on a gentleman who has been away from Calgary for a little while and finally is coming back home again. He is the managing editor of the Regina Leader-Post. He was a writer with the Calgary Albertan for many years covering the Stampeders and the CFL. Most prominently, he is the past president of the FRC, the Football Reporters of Canada Hall of Shame. He just got off the bus from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. We'd like to welcome Mr. Bob Hughes.
Thank you very much, Jim. After an introduction like that, I'm speechless. I'm not from Moose Jaw. I'm from the other end of the moose, Regina. We can say that about ourselves. But I'm from Regina, and it's a pleasure to be here. In fact, when you're from Regina in November, it's a pleasure to be anywhere. All I've been listening to since I arrived in Calgary is how cold it was here last weekend. So I've been asking, well, how cold was it? And they said it was minus 20 with a wind chill around minus 35. Cold? I said, hell, when it's that temperature in Saskatchewan, we're still harvesting. Doug Flutie would never make a farmer. Saskatchewan's greatest export continues to be its people. Most of them have come to Calgary. But some of them went to Edmonton, such as Ronnie Lancaster. Saskatchewan, for those of you who didn't know, is an Indian word meaning land where no man can leap to his death. And when he lived there, Ron Lancaster was made an honorary Indian chief. His name was Chief Wanatawasit. It means Chief Shortass. It really is a great thrill to be here with so many of the greatest players, coaches, and general managers who ever performed in the Canadian Football League. Of course, I'm too young to have remembered most of them, but my grandparents have told me about Lancaster and Reed. They said that Ronnie was a master at controlling the football and the game with a passing attack. And every once in a while, they said, Ronnie would surprise even himself by throwing a spiral. And sometimes he would even throw the ball to his own teammates. If you take a look at the all-star team here tonight, the defensive backfield, Jerry Keeling, Dick Thornton, Dick Harris, Joe Holloman, and Garney Henley, well, they all played against Lancaster. And none of them would have made this team had it not been for Ronnie. And George Reed, what a great running back he was. Who will ever forget old number 26? And Bill Baker, what a beaut he was. They called him the Undertaker. Bill played before face masks. Actually, Bill comes from a very religious family. When he was born, his parents took one look and thought he was a warning from God. And Herman Harrison is here tonight. Herm, Father O'Brien asked me to say hello to you. No, you two have never met, but he's heard your name mentioned so often in confession, he feels as if he knows you. And nobody is more excited about being here tonight than Roger Alday. Roger is from Gull Lake, Saskatchewan. And when he was a kid, he worked in the Gull Lake pet shop. And people would come in and they'd see Roger, take one look at him, and they'd ask the owner, how much bigger is he going to get? David Cutler was telling me that even though he's been out of the game, retired for a while, almost a decade in fact, the fans still remember him. And I said, well, how's that? Well, he said he was walking through the lobby of the hotel, the Westin Hotel the other day, and people were pointing and staring at him. And I checked around. It turns out they'd all just watched a special edition of Unsolved Crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome here tonight Channel 5 in Calgary, with Ken Newens. They'll be coming in here live every once in a while to do reports on their special football show. The Canadian Football League has been around for a very long time, and tonight we share a little history, the CFL's all-time all-star team. It's probably fitting at this juncture, as the league looks at its expansion into the American market, that we take time to recognize the CFL's best and reflect on its success. The CFL Alumni Association has sponsored the process that led to the naming of the all-time all-star team. The results have been based on fan and media participation. Deloitte & Touche Chartered Accountants supervised all of the fan balloting, and they are represented by Jerry Burroughs, managing partner tonight. We will begin by introducing to you the all-time all-star defensive team. At defensive tackle, from the Calgary Stampeders, he played from 1969 to 1978, number 77, John Helton. At defensive tackle, from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, he played from 1957 to 1970, number 61, John Barrow. At defensive end, from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he played from 1968 to 73 and from 77 to 78, number 76, Bill Baker. At defensive end, from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he played from 1956 to 1965, number 53, Herb Gray. At middle linebacker, from the Calgary Stampeders, he played from 1961 to 72, number 55, Wayne Harris. At outside linebacker, from the Montreal Alouettes, he played from 1970 to 76, number 41, Mike Widger, and unfortunately Mike was unable to be here tonight. At outside linebacker, from the Edmonton Eskimos, he played from 1980 to 1983, number 40, James Quick Parker. At defensive back, from the Toronto Argonauts, he played from 1967 to 1972, number 25, Dick Thornton. At defensive back, from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, he played from 1959 to 1975, number 26, Garney Henley. At cornerback, from the Edmonton Eskimos, he played from 1976 to 1985, number 29, Joe Holloman. At cornerback, from the Montreal Alouettes, he played from 1972 to 1982, number 18, Dick Harris. At safety, from the Calgary Stampeders, he played from 1961 to 1972, number 10, Jerry Keeling. Now our two kickers. At punter, from the BC Lions, he began his career in 1976, and he is still playing with the Lions, number 5, Lou Pasaglia. At place kicker from the Edmonton Eskimos, he played from 1969 to 1984, number 26, Dave Cutler. And now for the offensive team. The quarterback from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he played from 63 to 78, number 23, Ron Lancaster. Ronnie unable to be here tonight with a previous commitment tomorrow. At running back from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he played from 1955 to 1966, number 29, Leo Lewis. At running back from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he played from 1963 to 1975, number 34, George Reed. At receiver from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he started his career in 1983, and he's still playing with the Roughriders, number 81, Ray Elgard. At receiver from the Ottawa Roughriders, unable to be here tonight, he played from 75 to 81, Tony Gabriel. At receiver from the Montreal Alouettes, he played from 1954 to 1960, number 75, Hal Patterson. At receiver from the Edmonton Eskimos, he played from 1979 to 1987, number 70, Brian Kelly. At center from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he played from 1961 to 1970, number 43, Ted Ernest. At guard from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he played from 1976 to 1992, number 44, Roger Aldag. At guard from the Calgary Stampeders, he played from 1955 to 1965, number 56, Tony Pajakowski. At tackle from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he played from 1958 to 1967, number 67, Frank Rigney. At tackle from the Edmonton Eskimos, he played from 1954 to 1967, number 66, Roger Nelson. The outstanding special teams player from the Edmonton Eskimos, he started his career in 1986, and he's still playing for Edmonton, number 2, Henry Gizmo Williams. At coach from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he coached from 1957 to 1966, Bud Grant. The all-time All-Star General Manager Norm Kimball unable to be here tonight, but who is here? The most outstanding player on this team from the Edmonton Eskimos. He played from 54 to 62, number 12, Jackie Parker. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your CFL all-time All-Star team.
Less than a minute remaining in the quarter. 1st and 10 on the Hamilton 36. The Bombers refuse to be grounded by Paw. Ledyard connects with Funston. Flicker pass to Lewis. He gets by Henley. Outruns Schreider. No wonder he's called the Lincoln Locomotive. Look at him go. Touchdown.
Now a pitch out to Rolly Miles. Miles goes out and throws long to Jackie Parker, knocked down by Harold Patterson as Canada's two greatest football players lie cheek by jowl in
Football has been part of the Canadian fabric for over 100 years.
Here's the play developing. The handoff is to Lewis. He shoots back to quarterback. Van Pelt
He gets past one man at the sidelines. Touchdown for the Blue Bombers. A 70.
Lancaster forced out of the pocket. Lachlan falls. Lancaster doing a great job of scrambling. Passing back against the flow, complete to Buchanan.
It's a spectacle to be sure.
It's a first down. Bill Riddell finally stops Buchanan on the Hamilton 38. It's a 47-yard gain.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders came up with an entry which got cheers from start to finish.
The Grey Cup, the league championship game, has provided pomp, ceremony, and a really good excuse to have a party. It's been a little crazy, too. Can you imagine?
Jerry Vincent is back in punt formation. Anticipating a third down pass, the Tiger Cats have not sent on their punt receivers. Their alert deep defenders remain on the field. As Vincent throws out into the flat to pitch, Bibbles Bobble makes a clean interception on the 40-yard line, and Bobble is off on a touchdown trip. But no, wait, it's just a trip. A fan on the sidelines has played footsie with Bobble, and it's funny to everyone but the Tiger Cats.
Playing at quarterback. A long pass through the fog. Ernie Pitts makes a great catch to put Winnipeg in scoring position. The sideline location gives the coaches a better view than our press box position. On the Hamilton 15, Ledyard calls signals. And off to Lewis. Pass to Shepard. Touchdown! A brilliant play. A loose shoe didn't bother Shepard.
Winnipeg ball carrier is John Verone. Honest Chuck dives in for the tackle. The ball squirts loose.
In Canadian football, the elements lend a distinctive character to the game.
McQuay sweeping left, slips, fumbles the ball. Reggie Holmes recovers for Calgary.
The euphoria and heartbreak have often been determined by fate.
From ground level, McQuay heads toward the goal post. Then the costliest fumble of the year.
But it's the determination, the toughness, and the talent of the athletes that give the game its soul.
Into the middle to the 25, down to the 20, is caught from behind by Dave Beatty. Oh, a great play by this veteran Leo.
On a handoff to Willie Fleming, a change of direction, enormous acceleration.
In a simpler time, their talents were not documented as athletic achievements are today. But talented they were, and entertaining it was.
It's intercepted by Garney Henley.
A wide pitch out to Jackie Parker, who uses sheer speed to carry him through right end. And Jackie Parker is nailed from behind.
My coach at Mississippi State, Darrell Royal, had been up here and coached the previous year, and so he had told me all about Edmonton and told me I would like it and I would like this style of football. And so I didn't really know anything about even about Canada very much, because in those days in the schools down south, there was just not much. We didn't study very much about Canada.
Mistake in running their pass pattern, and Jackie Parker knocks the ball away from Red Oak.
Most players from the U.S. and from Canada in college or high school play both ways. That was just part of the game. I had 1 year in college where we didn't play both ways, but that was only 1 year. But it was just kind of the way the game was then. It wasn't as highly specialized as it is now, certainly.
49 yards in the air. Hal Patterson pushes the ball away from Rocamp and recovers it in the air for an Alouette touchdown.
Well, Hal had great talent. He could do anything. He was a great defensive back, a great receiver, big speed, and was a very good size. I guess Hal was probably 6'3", and he was just a great player.
Hit by Harold Patterson after an 11-yard gain.
There's an inexplicable pattern in the rivalries that have evolved over time in the Canadian Football League. Edmonton and Montreal in the 50s.
Sam keeps the ball and slides into touchdown territory behind Tom Hugo and Charlie Gibbons blocking. Now the Alouettes.
and again in the 70s.
Wide open, touchdown.
Zuger hits Watkins. He busts into the clear. Casa trying to catch him. And it's touchdown, Hamilton.
Hamilton, Winnipeg, and the BC Lions were the class of the league through the late 50s and mid-60s.
And still another before Goldston and Barrow stop in.
Quarterback Pete Oler holds the ball for Peter Kemp. It's fumbled, but Oler turns an apparent broken play into a touchdown. An easy catch for end Jim Tarpon.
Rough Riders, 1st and 10 on their 18. It's Reed showing his great ability as he gets 10 yards before Angelo.
Saskatchewan and Ottawa, Calgary and Toronto had their turns on the national stage in the late 60s and early 70s.
Quarterback Russ Jackson as he bootlegs the ball beautifully. Spots in Bill Sawalski all by himself and heading for the end zone. Touchdown, Ottawa, and the Riders go in front again.
Theismann under crushing pressure unloads a long bomb, a gasp ahead of being hit. Mel Prophet clutches the ball for 55 spectacular yards. Theismann in a last desperate play. Rolls right, looking to pass, but Calgary's defensive tackle John Helton drops the final curtain.
Those national rivalries did not diminish the intensity of regional matchups. The Hamilton Tiger Cats hated Toronto. The Calgary Stampeders and Saskatchewan Roughriders played some of the most exciting games in the history of Canadian football.
I think we had some super football players. I was very fortunate to play behind a defensive line that we had at that time, during that period of time. And the competition was such that, and most of our competition, strongest competition in the middle 60s was the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They had a super football team on both sides of the football. And if you beat them, you beat probably the best team in Canada.
Lancaster, the number 17, Tom Campana, touchdown.
It wasn't hard to key who was going to get the ball on a running situation, and that was George Reed. So we geared up for it, and we had a lot of fun, and had a lot of respect for his team, and had a lot of respect for him personally. Very adorable football player for the number of times, you know, he's carrying the ball 34 or up to 40 times a game, you know, and for the number of years he played at that position, that's quite amazing.
Another perennial star of the Saskatchewan team, George Reed.
I always loved the challenge of getting up playing against Wayne Harris because I considered that he was the best middle linebacker that I played against. And I also knew there was nothing that you were going to do that you were going to fool him or anything that way. It was just going to boil down to you buckle up, as they used to say, you put on two of everything and get ready to play. And I knew that some days I might get the best of him, other days he's going to get the best of me. But after the game, you'd shake hands because off the field he was a real gentleman. I believe Terry Ness was the best center that played the game. You always knew that he was going to be in every game. You always knew that he was going to give you an effort. And I always knew that most of the times that he was going to get the job done. Ronnie was successful, I believe, because he was a very student of the game. He knew the game inside and out, and he always knew what he wanted to do. It didn't always come off that way, but he commands the respect of guys, and everybody knew that he was tough because he would take the best hits anybody could put on it, and he would get up and wipe the blood away, whatever it was, and say, okay, let's go again. And from this here, I think it bred confidence in everybody.
Slips. Makes a brilliant recovery and throws 35 yards to Pierce. They're getting...
They came, they played, some liked it so much they stayed.
Another key block from Caleb, number 30. Henley directs traffic, uses Vitti to get more running room. A desperate effort by Jansen and Delvaux. Touchdown! A 74.
Collectively, they are the choreographers of many great moments in Canadian professional football.
Crippling injury, but the Edmonton touchdown drive is thwarted, and Jackie Parker sends up his longest punt of the game, a 48-yarder that lands in the end zone, and Joey Pell concedes the Eskimos their 20th and game-tying point.
Look at the money you're going to make. Hey, now you can't get it from the golf course down to me, okay?
Doug McNichol crashes John Getty, who laterals to Rollie Miles, and Miles is hit by Harold Patterson after an 11-yard gain.
Bombers in the fog are in touchdown territory. A handoff to Lewis. Crisp blocking. Shepard, 21. Thorson, 55. Lewis bounces off Newman. Tie score.
1st and 10. J.C. Watts for Tony Gabriel.
Be a real lift if the Riders could get that far ahead. They go to the end zone to Elgard. He's got it. Touchdown.
The game's evolved, sometimes on the spur of the moment from its rugby-oriented beginning.
Pitch out to Jackie Parker. A lateral to Rollie Miles, and Miles is tackled by Bill Bewley and covered by Jack Dwyer after a 7-yard gain.
Instantaneous resourcefulness. That's what it takes to play in the CFL.
The Bombers kick it out. Lancaster kicks it back in again. The Bombers manage to get it out again. A scramble. And the Bombers are penalized. No yards.
Those who mastered it played the game well for a long time.
John Barrow. Kickoff is taken by Jackie Parker right on the goal line. And watch this tremendous return run of 75 yards before Reynolds gets to him from behind.
I think in those days that teams didn't have a lot of taxi squad members around there. And that guys, they were pretty careful in selecting people. And once you made the football team, you know, unless that you didn't perform at all, and then you were kind of a part of that close-knit group. And I think that we were a very close-knit group in Saskatchewan as well as Calgary and so forth. And you didn't really believe in letting a whole lot of new players get on the field to show the coaches what they could do. So I think that because of a limited number of people that you had sitting around in a locker room and this type of thing, that I think that it caused you to play, and you knew that if you perform, you had a chance to stay with the football team. If you didn't perform, well, then they were going to find somebody else, and that was just the way it was.
George Reed, stopped by Brenner. 9 yards.
Keeling, straight back. Hits big tight end Herm Harrison. Touchdown.
Sam rolls out behind Bob James, but is hit by Roger Nelson for a 3-yard loss. Now
Dickie Harris, intercept, and the Alouettes have the ball back.
I almost went to the States for one reason, because I was so sick and tired of guys saying, "You're not bad for a Canadian." And that really used to gall me. And I used to love going out and beating up those, at least trying to beat up those big American tackles. That was a lot of fun to me, because that was the ultimate competition, because that's where they put those big guys in those days. But being a Canadian, no question, you started off at a lower salary. And the good old general managers always used to say to you, "Well, you're a Canadian. This is your home. You know, you have a job here. You shouldn't be paid the same as the American."
John Getty holding on the 29-yard line. Johnny Tatum's pass from center is high. Parker kicks the ball wide of the goalpost. Harold Patterson brings it out of the end zone and is hit on the 6-yard line.
Edmonton's ground game is working well. Bell bursts through a gaping hole in the left side of the Ottawa line and races 39 yards for the first.
Clement is looking again for Tony Gabriel. Gabriel's in the clear. He's behind Ted Provo. Touchdown!
Versatility started to give way to specialization. The game got faster, the players quicker. Past were the times of playing both ways regularly.
Has not stepped out. He may go all the way. He needs one block, and he'll do it easily. He may not need the block. Henry Gizmo Williams scores.
Pitch and catch were opening up the game.
I think we had 3 coaches when I first came to Calgary in 1969. Today, perhaps there's 5 or 6, I'm not sure. But I do know that they've made the game, let's just say they've taken more pains in the game. I don't know if that's reflected on the scoreboard, either way, offensively or defensively, as far as that's concerned. But I just feel like back in the early days, it's kind of like Vince Lombardi. There was a football, there was an offense, and there was a defense, and you held the offense to no score or a very small score, and the offense had to score. And I remember in university, our offense's motto was, we have to score one more point than the defense gives up.
As the game evolved, some things didn't change. It's always been a challenge. That's where the inspiration to be the best originates. As in the past, some guys were still considered too small, or not fast enough. But like players before, they relished the challenge, and they flourished with it.
Elgard, finally the record.
Rush in, James Quick Parker led the CFL with 5 fumble recoveries. He takes this one in for 6.
And it's good.
Pasaglia's 84-yarder is 3 yards shy of the Grey Cup record. BC leads by a single
And this
point.
is the big one for the Eskimos. Parker to Letkevitz again. The receiver is behind Schreider and outruns him for the major score as Poirier comes up.
I guess probably most most every position, but I played as a slot back and as a running back and as a fullback and as a quarterback and as a wide receiver. And I also played tight end at times if we'd get somebody hurt. Because as being a quarterback, and we didn't have, 3,000 plays to know. Like I knew all the positions and knew what you're supposed to do. Whether I could do it worth a darn or not I don't know that. And then on defense, I played all the defensive back positions, the safety and halfback and corner. So it was a lot of fun. I loved to play defense. That was fun. When you played offense and especially at quarterback, it was a lot more work. Playing wide receiver was fun too. That was like playing defense. I kicked points after and punted. My range was somewhat short, so I didn't kick any long field goals. I really love coaching because the satisfaction of having people do things and do them well, and if when your guys went out and played a good game, and not necessarily whether you won or lost. I mean, we've lost some games that our guys played as good as they can play. As long as they do that, I was never unhappy.
They came to play in the Canadian Football League for many reasons. Many made their homes in the places they came to. Some are still in the game. They all had an impact on what the game has become. Collectively, these players represent over 350 years of playing experience, and they played in over 100 Grey Cup games. The CFL All-Time All-Star Team as presented by the CFL Alumni Association.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will now ask Herm Harrison and Moran Armutlu from Intergold Manufacturing to come to the stage for the presentation of special watches which were designed for this evening. And I'll be calling the players up one by one for the presentations. Starting with, from the Calgary Stampeders, a guy who looks as if he could still play, John Helton. John? From the Hamilton Tiger Cats, John Barrow. From the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Bill Baker. From the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Herbie Gray. From the Calgary Stampeders, Wayne Harris. From the Edmonton Eskimos, James Parker. From the Toronto Argonauts, Dick Thornton. From the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Garney Henley. From the Edmonton Eskimos, Joe Holloman. From the Montreal Alouettes, Dick Harris. From the Calgary Stampeders, Jerry Keeling. From the BC Lions, Louis Pasaglia. From the Edmonton Eskimos, Dave Cutler. From the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the Lincoln Locomotive, Leo Lewis. The man who defined how the position of fullback should be played, George Reed from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. From the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Ray Elgard. From the Montreal Alouettes, Hal Patterson. From the Edmonton Eskimos, Brian Kelly. From the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Ted Ernest. From the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Roger Aldag. From the Calgary Stampeders, Tony Pajakowski. From the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Frank Rigney. From the Edmonton Eskimos, Roger Nelson. The all-time coach from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Bud Grant. And they threw away the mold when they made this one from the Edmonton Eskimos, Jackie Parker. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your all-time team.
These are the heroes we cry out for. It's the soul that struggles in search for more, and one who lives in risk because destiny would have no other way, it seems. These are the the heroes when glory's hand is raised. The common man who goes without sole praise can fall on one whose shoulders will carry fame. These are the heroes of the game. In search for answers, the questions of why, oh, this hero's heart will never die. So with pendant pull, their heads point to the sky. The pain they feel is all inside. These are the heroes when glory's hand is raised. The common man who goes without sole praise can fall on one whose shoulders will carry fame. These are the heroes of the game. When rain falls down on common ground and the goals one step away, a cry will rise above the crowd, and the victor's voice will say, these are the heroes when glory's hand is raised. The common man who goes without sole praise can fall on one whose shoulders will carry fame. These are the heroes of the game. These are the heroes when glory's hand is raised. The common man who goes without sole praise can fall on one whose shoulders will carry fame. These are the heroes of the game. These are the heroes of the game.